Okay, so we are drawing a motorcycle. I'm not necessarily going to draw this motorcycle, but we're going to draw a motorcycle. You can draw whatever motorcycle you like. A couple things I want you to notice is if I was just, I printed this out and I put this on a piece of paper, notice that inherently it's going to have a vanishing point, right? So I could figure it out by going like this. Right? So you can see that there's a vanishing point over here somewhere. So if I would kick that out, I could see something like that. All right. We should notice, because we're kind of replicating this, I could draw this from the top or the bottom, but the horizon line is basically right at the center of these wheels, right? That's essentially, I think, where this horizon line is. Because I can tell that because it's going up and it's going down. So my horizon line, we've been drawing below it for everything, but this time we're going to draw right on the horizon line. So knowing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on my paper that's behind it, I'm just going to pull that out and draw a horizon line. Okay, so this is about, I'd say it's about 2/3 the way down. It's not in the middle, it's below the middle. So, and again, I'm just using this drawing as a reference, but I'm not going to be, doing tracing or anything like that. That's silly. Okay, so again, we're all going to draw our own. So then what I'm going to do is, if I'm going to do it in this, I actually like drawing the other way because my hand goes to the right, but that's okay. We'll try to make this work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my vanishing point at the very, very possible end of here, right? And then knowing that I'm using this as my guide, I'm going to start with my front wheel, and then I'll make one behind it. My experience with drawing motorcycles is they tend to be too far apart if you're not careful. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a vanishing line. It doesn't have to be equal on there. So there's this vanishing line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle. So if you remember the last time we did this, we actually worked in what we call 3-point perspective. And so the third point that we were doing was with our tummy. Right now we're kind of doing the same thing, but it's really, we're only going to be going, there is another vanishing point here. So if I go here, there is one over here, but I'm not right now all that concerned about it. So, but the other one is on my tummy. So for example, I'm going to draw a rectangle and the vanishing point is going to be on my tummy somewhere. So it's going to be like this. And then I'm trying to make this rectangular, meaning that it's like, square. So it's like a square. So let's do something like this. All right. So again, I gotta be careful, but it's gonna be my tummy. So my belly button, I guess, is what I'll do. All right. And let's not worry about the back one right now. We're just gonna draw the front one. So then what I do is, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. What I'm going to do is find the center of that rectangle. And so I'll go something like this. And then it's just like our watch or a clock. I need to figure out where the top is. All right. And then where my 6 and 9 o'clock is. It's all going to the vanishing point. So that's good. All right. So then what I do is I essentially draw a circle here. And so the way that I do that is like the way we've done it before. The lines actually stay up top for a while against this surface. A lot of students kind of make them pointy. So I'll generally do something like this. First, all right, so it's not parallel, but it stays up there for a long time on this the 12, 3, 6, and 9. And then essentially what I do is I just fill it in. And again, I'm not it's hard for me to draw like this. I usually move my paper, but I'm trying to keep it from moving so you guys don't get car sick. All right, so there's going to be my first wheel. It's not perfect. It's a sketch. If I want to make it perfect, I do it in Fusion. It's okay that it's not perfect. Looks a little funny there. I can tell it's a little, needs to be a little bigger. All right, so then what I can do is I'm drawing a motorcycle. So let's just draw, I'm just going to eyeball a smaller wheel. So I could do something like, I could sketch that out, but you know what? I know it's just concentric, meaning it doesn't touch. So I'm going to make it a little smaller. Let me make this a little, I feel like it's a little, I'm just eyeballing this, but it just feels a little. All right, something like that. All right, so then I'm going to remember as I draw in perspective, because this is bigger and it gets smaller, the space is also bigger. So if I was going to measure it, which I generally don't, let's just say that that was a 1/2 inch. I know that the back part of my wheel would have to be less. So if the front of it happens to be a 1/2 inch, then the back has to be, by being in perspective, it has to be smaller. And I'm not doing that, like I'm not like measuring it. I just know that. And we've been drawing a perspective. So these things should start to come a little bit more natural to you, right? So I'm essentially drawing not a complete profile of a wheel, but it's more or less, and this is also very similar, if you recall, to the watch that we did. Okay, so this is kind of the front wheel. And so now I need to give it some depth. And so I'm going to just imagine there's a vanishing point on the other side of this, like that paper. So it'd be way, way over. I'm just kind of eyeballing where it would be. I don't know exactly where it would be, but it'd be something like that, right? And so then I'm going to draw the front of this tire. And remember, I'm basically copying this is what I'm doing. So right now I've made that wheel. It actually, if you notice, the center of that wheel is probably something like this. So you're seeing some of the backside too, but that's okay. All right. So that's what I'm drawing right here. It's also round. So tires are usually round. So it's going to be something like this. All right. And then, you know, now I'm drawing a motorcycle. So obviously it's not a bad idea to have a picture of something you want. I'm going to kind of eliminate this line. If you look here, that line would probably be, it's actually, you can see it. It's right here on this drawing. Right, so there is a line there, but it got lost, which is okay. You don't really need it because unlike a car, these are typically very round wheels. Like motorcycle tires are round. So while I'm here, I have no idea what this motorcycle is going to look like. And I think it's fun as a designer to just kind of just kind of doodle as you go along, because somewhere in your mind it already knows, but you can then, all right, so then since I'm here, I'll go ahead and draw the fender. All right, so the fender, and again, I'm just making my own little beast here, right? So the fender is obviously going to be larger than the tire. It's going to be a little bigger. Joe, what kind of a motorcycle should I make? All right, so there's my hub right here. There's going to be a little, that's where the I guess the front axle is going to go. So I'm going to make an axis. So if you look at a motorcycle, there's a front shock absorber. Something has to turn, you know, like a handlebar on a bicycle. So that's what that is. There's one there, and there's actually one kind of buried there. So I'm going to go ahead and make one. I'm going to make my
You
front.
do it a Triumph.
Okay. Oh, yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to design my own because I'm probably not that good, but I appreciate the idea. But you should draw a Triumph, okay?
No, Smith.
Okay. So here it is, you know, there's that front shock absorber. There'd be one behind it somewhere. So it'd be something like this. And so there's my shock absorber. It's a little bigger, right, as it compresses. So now I need to draw, like, I'm going to draw a headlight. And so a headlight is just a circle on an ellipse. So I'm going to draw a circle here as my headlight. Again, yours could be square, and mine is, it's just another ellipse, right? So There's my gonna be my headlight. Wow, Smith, so far so good. It's not always gonna end up well, so that's just the way this works for me. So headlight, it's got some depth to it. Kind of reminds me of my watch right there. All right, so there's a headlight. Again, I'm just kind of going with this. I'm not referring to any sort of picture. I might give this a little bit of tread in here. Not really necessary, but I could put some tread in there. I don't want to get too sketchy because it gets really messy really quickly. All right. So. Okay, so then the other thing is if you look at this wheel, I need to give it some depth, right? So I'm gonna, because I'm kind of looking at the back of it, you're gonna see the back of this wheel, kind of like a crescent moon is what I'm gonna draw there. So there's a little bit of a giving it some depth. Garrett, how am I doing? No way.
Doing well.
No way.
Doing well.
All right. All right.
Kind of on the same page.
As I said, I'm just kind of making this up as I go along, you guys. So I don't mind if you draw a Vespa or whatever, but I just want you to see, like, this wheel has to be believable. If the wheel isn't believable, it's a little tricky. So you just want to make sure I'm just drawing squares and ellipses and I'm just filling it in. Okay, so there's my front tire. I could draw spokes, you know, there's a lot of things I could do. I'm just going to leave it blank for now. I guess what I want to do is make handlebars. And so I've got a motorcycle tank. There's like, I think there's like speedometers, old school speedometers and those things that go back here. If I was a better teacher, I'd be looking at a photograph. I'm not drawing this one, but this is certainly the way that the technique that I'm drawing. So I got to figure out, so the handlebar, notice how it kind of goes all the way down because you turn and it goes down. So let's figure that out. This is a little beefy. All right, so then the handlebars are going to be going like, here, help me out here. It's going to be something like this. It's going to be, actually, yeah, it's got it. So I got to remember my vanishing point back here. So it's actually going to go to my vanishing point. I almost did a no-no, right? So my vanishing point is, yeah, I got to do a better job. Okay, so my vanishing point, so I can do that. It just be like that. So if you remember, I decided on my vanishing point because I did my wheels and I thought it would be on this axis, this line. I put it about the same distance, eyeballing it to the right side. So vanishing point is going to something like that, I said. All right. Kind of looking a little weird. And so there's going to be like a motorcycle tank. So everything's going to come back to my vanishing point from here. Those handlebars are a little weird, but let's just go with it for now. Let's not get too caught up in that. So as I recall, there's usually a gas tank back here. All right, so there's a gas tank. What else is there? And then there's a motor under here, and a motor is like two big cylinders. This is not a bad time to look at a photograph if you don't know what a motorcycle looks like. And then there's like a seat back here. Remember, I'm still trying to make sure I'm going to this vanishing point. I haven't driven a motorcycle in a long time. When I was in college, I bought a little Sportster. It was before the Harley Davidson scene took off, so it was kind of cool. It was like black and chrome, and I bought it for like $2,000. I was working at this design firm making models where they pay you double overtime and triple over. Sunday you get triple pay. Saturdays you'd make time and a half, and I was a model maker, and I was living the life. So I remember I bought a motorcycle. The great thing was I had it for a while. When I moved out to California, I shipped it to California, and I remember driving it like upstate New York. I could drive forever. You might see 2 or 3 cars. In California, it was just crazy. And I remember going across the Bay Bridge, and I realized like motorcycles in the Bay Area are just not all that much fun. But I sold it, and I sold it for like, I think I sold it for like $5,000 or $6,000. You know, so it was actually, those kind of motorcycles are great investments. All right, so there's my motorcycle tire. So now I got to draw another wheel back here. Now I know the wheel is going to have to fall into here. So probably my seat's getting a little weird, but let's draw another wheel. So let's just kind of pick it. So it's probably going to go to there. All right, so now again, if my front wheel, just arbitrarily, if I measured it, if it happened to be, in this case, it's about 2¼ inches, that back one's got to be significantly less than that. So I'm going to make this like 1¾ right? So your back wheel must be smaller. You know, probably proportionally, I could figure it out from the height of it. And then the center is, so just make sure that that rear wheel is smaller. The other thing I notice is a lot of students make it way too far back. So you want to be careful. Like even this drawing is probably a little too far back, but they were able to get away with it with this big shield in here. So I'm going to make that rear wheel. Again, it's just a rectangular. And I'm basically copying this. And Joe, am I doing okay?
Better than I'm doing.
So then I'm going to make this rear tire. One of our students is working for Kiska. I'll have to show you the website. It's actually a company in, of all places, Austria, that makes motorcycle stuff. They like design for Husqvarna and all these cool. All right, that looks a little weird. I'm not going to lie, but let's just pretend it's working. It feels a little goofy. I won't tell if you won't tell. I should probably be looking at a photograph, but that's okay. So let me get this engine done. I don't remember which side of chain is on. Do motorcycles even have chains today? I don't know.
I think so. A lot of them use like rubber drive belts.
Do they have
I think it depends on the motor and the bike.
Yeah, sport bikes are I think the ones that use the rubbers sometimes.
Yeah, so you guys can just, you know, what we're really looking at is wheels, front and back, and then whatever you want to make that goes in between them, right? But try to make it somewhat believable. So I think there's a gear pedal out here that would extend out. Probably right is my brake. Yeah, it's a brake pedal. All right. I feel like my seat's too big back there. I should make like a chopper seat in the back, huh? All right. So it's okay to erase as you go along here. Oh, I need a back fender is what I need. That's what I'm missing. I forget where the shock, it's probably something like this. I'm guessing what my rear shock looks like. There's probably a chain that comes back here. As I said, Joe, I don't even know if they have chains anymore on motorcycles. So I probably need to figure out like what these wheels look like. All right, Joe, how am I doing, guys? It looks like a
Looking
motorcycle,
good.
kind of to
Sportster
me.
for sure.
All
Almost
right,
like Honda Shadow a little bit.
okay. As I said, I'm just kind of making it up as I go along here. It's hard because you don't want to get too loosey-goosey with your lines, but you want to sketch at the same time. You know, when I applied to college, they said I couldn't draw. I remember that. And I was just I had a lot of anxiety over it. So I was really nervous then when I got to school that I couldn't draw. But when somebody said it was just doodling, I was like, oh, I can do that. Right. So it's not perfect, you guys, but I think it's okay. All right, so that's not bad. Rear wheel's a little messy too. I think it's easier with a motorcycle wheel because it's round and you kind of lose. What I mean is like it's not flat. The tread is all right. Okay, so Joe, do you think I need anything else? I think there's a little like valve here to if your motorcycle falls over to go to reserve or whatever that is.
Saddlebags, why not?
Actually, that back seat works like that. That little lip I did, I think it actually helps define that surface really well. So, you know, the interesting thing about industrial designers is, you know, they'll get into very specific niches out of college. Some of them will work for big exhibit companies. Some will work for like Fox, the Shock. Some will work for Specialized designing bikes. Some will work for Nissan doing the interior seats. I mean, like it's a very, very broad ranging field. So, you know, some will work for Black and Decker making tools. Some designers will work at, you know, you name it. There's just anything that's, you know, not really like nailed down. You know, architects are a little different breed. Um, you see a lot of architects kind of cross pollinating where they'll design furniture, but that's usually the industrial designers who are doing that kind of work. Um, so, you know, a big part of it is just being able to draw and kind of have fun with doodling and coming up with ideas. So you can see like one of the things about what I'm doing is I didn't really know what this was going to look like this little thing here, right? That just kind of happened, that little back seat. It probably, you know, maybe in the back of my mind, I've seen that somewhere, but I think it's a really like I like that little design feature. So just kind of as you draw, you know, shapes and new kind of things will come to you. And I know we talked about doing research and that's all great, but you know, part of the process is when you sketch is you kind of find new things and things appear for you, if that makes sense. So I think this is acceptable. I need a rear light here probably. Because I got a front light. I probably could put a blinker or two on here, but I feel like I'm doing okay. Max, am I doing okay? I don't know if you're still here, Max. All right. Joe, am I doing okay?
I dig it.
All right. Woohoo! So then I can start getting rid of some of these lines that are in my way. So, you know, what we don't do in this class is we don't really do shading. Like we're coming up with we have a new drawing class that it's going to be coming out soon. It's a drawing class. That's where you would apply color. I mean, I don't mind if you apply color, but really what we're doing here is just, we're just trying to make sure things are in perspective before you start adding color. Because if they're not in perspective, it just never seems to work. And I don't like my treads. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I could probably come up with a better tread. Tires are a little beefy too. Okay, so that is all we're doing today. What I'd like to do is next week I want to kind of review the table renderings that you're doing. You have some projects that we still need to go over that are in there, all that kind of fun stuff. So in the discussions, we'll spend some time in there. All right, so I'm going to make some other weird little design features because I can, and you can't stop me. So I don't know what that is, but there it is. Yeah. Questions, comments? Okay, I'm going to stop this recording for now. I should sign it. There we go.